The only place for everything Vikings. 6, 1, 2, Vikings.
Welcome back to 612 Vikings after a very long hiatus, couple weeks at least. A lot of personal stuff going on, busy schedules and stuff too. The Vikings are 5-2 at this point. We got a good Sunday night football game tonight, Vikings and Colts. Drew, how we been doing these past couple weeks? I know you probably missed me, huh?
Yeah, we had some life things get in the way, but we're back in action. I think when we stopped recording for a little bit on our little hiatus, the hot streak started to slip. So hopefully, with us going back on the mics again, maybe they'll start going back to their winning ways. So I think they kind of need the 6-1-2. They're going, yeah, they're on the. We haven't seen 6-1-2 in a couple weeks, so I think with us being back on there, I'm expecting a big stretch of wins coming up right now. So I'm definitely excited to be back here.
Yeah, they just don't know what to do with themselves without 612 Vikings. Like we are the powerhouse of that 5-0 team, and ever since we stopped recording, they've had 2 losses. So hopefully they can get back on track tonight against the Colts. So before we get into tonight's matchup of the Vikings and Colts on Sunday Night Football, Drew, let's talk about the past 2 losses, the Lions and the Rams. Just two gut-wrenching losses, especially to the Rams of all teams. They finally got Cooper Kupp back and Puka Nacua, miraculously against the Vikings of all teams to get those 2 superstars back. But let's start with the Lions. Like, I know it's been a couple weeks, but the 2 losses, it's just not ideal. What are we kind of making of the 2 losses right now?
Well, I think with the first one, I think kind of looking back when they had the ball to kind of put the game away, they went 3-and-out, gave the Lions the ball back. Analytics probably could have said that the Vikings should have gone for it on 4th down, just given that, you didn't have that much time left. And if you got the first down, the game was essentially over at that point. You can at least juice some of that clock down. Or on the flip side, let's say you don't get it, and then the Lions get that short field, you are more likely going to get another possession again on top of that to get you at least one more crack at scoring some more points there. So I think that was maybe something that was a little bit of a slip up from the coaching perspective. I think that kind of was the ultimate, this decision on why they lost that game. I think there was a time where they needed to be aggressive and they went a little bit conservative. And then, the Lions drove down the field to go win the game. And then with the Rams, I think with them having, you said earlier, Cooper Kupp and Nacua were back, having those guys can just transition and transform an offense from being, one of the worst in the league to being one of the best in the league. So it was very clear that they were missing on those 2 guys. And, when they're getting beat up by teams like, the Bears and they're losing all these bad teams, and now you add these 2 guys back, it definitely helps them a lot. And I think that was a big reason why they ended up losing on top of that, because now it became more of that even matchup between the Vikings and Rams. And it was a good game, and unfortunately didn't go our way with Trey Blake, who's the epitome of Minnesota right now, the most hated guy in the state of Minnesota. Almost cost us for 33-0, and now he's cost us with the no face mask. So I hope this guy just is never near Minnesota football ever again. So hopefully he can go back to the ACC where he belongs. But
Yeah, like I want to add on, with the Lions game, and then I'll get to the Rams as well. But with the Lions, that was like a 11-point game for most of that time through the second and third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, that's when things got real interesting with the Vikings coming back and, possibly winning that game. And like you said, the 4th down call that, if you go for it, you probably ice the game, bleed some clock. If you don't go for it, you probably get an extra possession. So, there's that. And then with the Rams, that blatant face mask, non-existent call. Like, I don't know where. I know the refs came after the game and were like, oh yeah, we didn't have a really good view of it. Well, you were standing right there. Everybody else was at least 50 yards away, like the fans were like 50 yards away at least from that play happening. I don't know, maybe not 50, but at least 20. Like the refs had the best seat in the house to see that play. You know it's bad when when a player's face is going the other way. Like how do you not call that? But it's been a week now. 2 losses within a week. It sucks. It's hard on the players, but we'll kind of move on from those 2 weeks because, like I said, it's all in the past now. So we got a good Sunday night football game coming up, Drew. Colts,
Yeah,
not a pushover team. 4-2 are they? 4-3.
I think they're 4-3. Yeah.
4-3, and then the Vikings 5-2. The Colts, like I said, they're not a pushover team. Uh, with that said, I do think that the Vikings should win comfortably in this game. I think, not to get to game predictions quite yet, but I think that the Vikings can win this game by at least 10 points. With Joe Flacco, I obviously all the Vikings fans would rather have Anthony Richardson start over Joe Flacco for obvious reasons, but Drew, what are kind of some things to watch in this game for Sunday Night Football?
Well, the big thing's going to have to be the defensive line. How can they generate pressure? Because it seems like, with the Rams O line, they were one of the bottoms in the league. Granted, let's get also, state the fact that they were missing a lot of their offensive linemen too. So it was a little bit not. It didn't really accurately reflect on how good or how bad the Rams O line was, but they didn't get any sacks on Matthew Stafford last week. So I want to kind of see how they go and they bounce back against a team like the Colts, who have a okay O line. They're not a juggernaut. They're not a pushover. They got guys like Quentin Nelson, Raymond's okay. So I kind of want to see how they generate pressure from their D line. I think Michael Pittman, I don't know if he has an injury. I'm not 100% sure. Or I know he was on the news for something. I don't know if it was for an Anthony Richardson thing, or I think he was battling something maybe a couple weeks ago. So that could be something. Alec Pierce is okay. There really isn't like a big X factor on the Colts team outside of Quentin Nelson and Jonathan Taylor. When it comes to more of that passing game. So I really want to see how they kind of bounce back with getting pressure on the quarterback and seeing if they can generate turnovers that way. But the big thing is going to have to be, Jonathan Taylor. Can the D-line kind of bounce back from not being able to stop Kyren Williams? Because they were giving up 5 yards a carry, 6 yards a carry to Kyren Williams last game. So, they were one of the best run defenses in the league this year for most of the year. And now it's, they kind of had a bad game last week, so we'll see how they kind of bounce back this week. But like you said, I think this is a game where they could win by 10 or more points. They'll definitely, I think they're the favorite in this game by 5 or 6 points or something. So depending on what market you're looking at. But yeah, like you said, I think this is a game that they should win, and I would expect them to win. And this is a stretch too. I would expect them to rack up some wins as well.
Yeah, for sure. We have the rest of the AFC South. After the Colts here, we have because we already beat the Texans. Next will be the Colts, and then the Jags, and then the Titans. So hopefully we can wrap up that AFC South pretty easy. It's kind of a weaker division, outside of the Texans. Colts are still competitive, but Jags, they have 1 or 2 wins on the season, and then the Titans, they're kind of a pushover team. Right now I know every NFL team is, it's still an NFL team, but still, it's games that you should win, and I think the Colts are definitely one of them. And I don't know if I shared with you off the air yet, but I do want to share with you guys my underdog slip. One of our sponsors here. So let's see here. Let's show the audience on the YouTube channel here. We'll go like this. So some of these I think have a really good chance to happen too. Jefferson getting a touchdown, I feel like that should be pretty easy. The Colts defense, I don't know where they quite rank right now, but I think Jefferson should have a field day. Jordan Addison should have a field day, higher than 40 receiving yards. Joe Flacco, I think if that place gets loud, gets ruckus like they did against the Texans, the Lions, and pretty much every other home game, Joe Flacco, I think, is due for interception. Patrick Jones, I don't know why they had this one in here, but, lower than I don't think he'll get a sack in this game. He's a rotational guy. When you have Andrew Van Ginkel and Jonathan Grenard starting, and then sprinkle in Dallas Turner as well. Aaron Jones, I think, should have a really good game. I know that their run defense really isn't that great, so Aaron Jones is probably due for a good game. And then, yeah, other than that, I picked a couple other decent ones as well. But outside of that, I think that Vikings team, I like I said before, 10 points or more that they're gonna win by. So, Drew, how do you feel about those picks?
Yeah, I think the Joe Flacco one was an interesting one. I do think that they'll bounce back with an INT. I do think Joe Flacco will throw one. Vikings defense, like I said, I think they're going to come back, get some pressure. Grenard's having a really good year, so that'll be a challenge for their offensive tackles. And then you obviously got Van Ginkel on the other side, so I think that they'll generate some pressures. And we'll kind of see if the linebackers can kind of hold up. I know they're going to be without Blake Cashman this week, but the only one like I noticed you had too. I think you had lower on Jalen Naylor, which I think was pretty smart too. With T.J. Hawkinson coming back too, I think that's going to be one that is a good pickup as well. I think that you're going to really start to see the Hawkinson, Addison, Jefferson thing kind of all mesh together all at once. Because kind of looking at Addison's numbers, I'm not from off the top of my head. I haven't looked at this, but it just seems like Addison's production really seemed to inflate a lot when TJ was on the field versus when he was off the field. So I don't know if him being on the field is a direct correlation of that. Maybe it's one of those things where, they'll draw a little bit more attention to Jefferson. Hawkinson might be going, maybe he's running a short route and that leaves Addison more open on a one-on-one look. Maybe that's something that they, I don't know how their offense looks, but like this is just off the top of the dome. So, but I think it's something that could definitely happen. And I think Addison's going to have a good game here because he's been, I don't say he's underperforming because he is getting open. He's just not getting the ball. So I would like to see him get the ball because a lot of times in this Rams game and even the Lions game, he was getting that separation. He was getting open and the ball just wasn't going his way. So I do want to see him get the ball a little bit more. I think if you can utilize him, that'll open up more of Jefferson and even TJ and even can open up Aaron Jones too in a run game as well if they go off of play action. So I would definitely want to see Addison getting more involved. So I think this is a good game for him to kind of bounce back and start to get that resurgence back from what we saw from last year.
Yeah, and this will be the first time that all season that the Vikings offense will pretty much have everybody healthy, outside of Darisaw, that sucks. But, another thing that we forgot to mention, sorry to go off topic, but Cam Robinson to the Vikings, I think that will be really good. We can talk about that in a couple seconds here. But first time all season that the Vikings offense has all of its weapons. You have JJ, Addison, TJ, Aaron Jones as well, with that pretty good offensive line, kind of alluding to Cam Robinson being on the Vikings too. So, I think that the Vikings, they should be able to put up, maybe 21, 24, even higher than that points for tonight's game. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a really good show for offense, I think. So, it's going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah, and when we were gone, this Cam Robinson thing has definitely gotten some mixed reviews. I know some people have been kind of saying it's a bad trade. Some people really like it. I'm on the board of saying it's more of a good trade. It's a future pick for next year. It doesn't affect us in this draft, and the Jaguars are basically paying us to roster him for half the season. And it was like a conditional like 4th or 5th round pick, and it's based on playing time. So I mean, it's something like I don't understand how people go and they say they try to like nickel and dime these draft picks where you could easily make up a 5th round pick and a trade back. Like it's really easy to do. And to mention as well that they have a first rounder next year and this year. So let's just say in a scenario what we're picking, like let's say we win a playoff game, but we don't win, go past to the divisional round. Say we're picking like 25, in that scenario, you could still trade back from like 25 to like 28, and that's worth like about a 5th round pick. So moving up or moving back 3 spots, and based on that, I mean, it could be three teams behind you that don't even have the same needs as you, and you could still get that guy for cheaper, and you pick up that extra draft pick you just gave up from last year. So I don't understand how people. I know it's a lot of the draft guys. They like the nickel and dime things and say, oh well, this guy could be really good. Everybody's a diamond in the rough sort of thing, but not everybody is a diamond in the rough. So not every time every team's going to draft a Puka Nacua in the 5th round or draft a Brock Purdy in the 7th round, or for our sake, to find an Adam Thielen in the UDFA period. So they're hard to find. They're few and far between. So I think this is a good trade to kind of bridge off of what's going on for this year, where they're having a good season. They are 5-2, and if they do win tonight's game, they're 6-2, and trade deadline's coming up. That a couple days afterwards. I think it's on Election Day, ironically. So you'll have either. If the Vikings do something and their candidate wins, it's the best day ever. And if the Vikings don't do anything and their candidate loses, it's the worst day ever for them. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how things work out for that. But I think if they do win, they could look at a move. And I think if they do, I think the only way they would is it would have to be something similar to what TJ Hawkinson's situation was, where they're trading that future pick or a high pick, but he also has that future on the team. So I don't really see a scenario where it's like, a 30, 32-year-old, interior pass rusher, maybe somebody like a DeForest Buckner on the Colts. He's like in his late 20s, early 30s. So I don't know if it'd be a scenario like that, but, maybe it's a scenario like a Jeffrey Simmons. I know they're kind of saying, they're not looking at trading him, but if the Titans lose another game, I don't know how you can't explore that. And I know this is the Vikings' wet dream scenario too, with the interior pass rush, and obviously it's going to be Dexter Lawrence. But I know a lot of Giants fans are saying he's not for sale, and I get that too. Like I think they're starting to build it right with guys like Malik Neighbors. They finally got that wide receiver. They still have Andrew Thomas. I think they're just a few pieces away from being great, and I kind of have to wonder too where you got to remember Joe Shane doesn't. He didn't draft this guy. He doesn't have any tie downs to him besides like a big contract. So it could be a scenario that could happen, but I think that would have to be a thing where you'd give up more than one 1st-round pick. And I think for me, I would give up at least 2 1st-round picks for him. He's a guy that's in his mid to late 20s, but he is leading the league in sacks. Would be a huge upgrade. And I think that's a pickup that not only wins this year, but can win with JJ McCarthy in the future too on that rookie deal. So, and you get that X factor pass rusher too, on top of what Grenard, if you want to say he's an X factor now, because he's up there in pressure, sack numbers are up there. So adding 2 guys like that in the middle and the outside could be really big. But obviously it's going to be a big asking price, but we'll see what they kind of do and take it one step at a time, see what they do against the Colts. And if they win, we'll see what moves they make. So I know our buddy Darren Wolfson saying that they could be in the market for a trade. So we'll see how that goes in the coming days.
Yeah, I think that really excites a lot of Vikings fans too, is, who would we trade for? A lot of people want DJ Reed, Dexter Lawrence, Jeffrey Simmons. I know names of, I forgot who it is on the Broncos. Forgot his first name, Jones. But, regardless, looking for a defensive tackle, I think, me personally, I would rather go for a defensive tackle, a game-changing defensive tackle like a Jeffrey Simmons, a Dexter Lawrence, someone like that, because the people up front can change how the people in the back play. And, if you're getting pressures, you're getting sacks up front, the coverage behind is going to play a lot better, and you're going to get probably more interceptions, pass breakups, and everything in between too. So, and then kind of going off of Cam Robinson too, is I was a big fan of the trade because I thought that the Vikings would stay in-house and move, Blake Brandel to like left tackle, Dolan Reisner to left guard, kind of play musical chairs with the offensive line, which probably why they traded for Cam Robinson is because they don't want to do the whole musical chairs with the offensive line. And I 100% get that. And you only have to change one position. Now, if Dolan Reisner plays tonight against the Colts, that you're changing 2 positions, but maybe he doesn't play. Maybe I don't know. I don't know what the Vikings have up their sleeve for tonight, but we'll see. So speaking of Cam Robinson possibly playing, Drew, do you see him starting tonight, or do you think that's kind of, give him one more week?
Well, I think it just kind of depends on how he does in practice. There hasn't been a lot of chatter on, the social media feeds or the beat writers saying how good he's been doing or how he's been picking things up. So
Hmm.
I'm assuming that means he's doing fine, because normally it would kind of start to see signs that he wouldn't be playing. But the fact that it's radio silence and, people are kind of guessing makes me kind of feel like he would start, because it's more like that expected thing because they just traded for him. The only thing I feel like, we would really have to know is just the pass protections, the calls like that, and then, whatever the run pass play. So, and that's something that you can kind of pick up pretty easily on. And I believe TJ Hawkinson, when he was traded, I think he played that following week when he got traded. So I think it's something that can be done. And let's see. And Kevin O'Connell's the guy that picked up Josh Dobbs at quarterback, who had to basically learn street ball and take it easy on him to make things easier for him. So I think, for me personally, I think he will, just for the fact that they haven't really mentioned anything about him not playing or playing. I feel like that radio silence tends to lean me towards that he's going to play. So I would expect him to play. If not, like you said, they'll probably put Brandel to left tackle for a game, keep Reisner at left guard for a game, then Ed Ingram, which would be a musical chairs thing, like you said. And then that following week, you'd have to consider Dalton Reisner again at right guard, Ed Ingram. That scenario will be going around for the whole week. So I don't know. Me personally, I'm going with Cam Robinson will start at left tackle, and then Dalton Reisner is going to start at right guard. So that way, it's a new line, and that way they can build off that and get some momentum that way for this upcoming stretch with more easier opponents coming up. So that's what my prediction is going to be.
All right, Drew. Before we sign off for tonight, what do we think is like your final thoughts on tonight's game? Game prediction, bold predictions. What do you have for tonight's game?
Let's see. I'm gonna
Just off
say
the dome.
TJ Hawkinson surpasses Sam Laporta in his season touchdowns in one game.
Oh, what is Laporta at? One?
No clue, but I know he is not doing so hot, so that's why I'm going with it.
Ooh.
I think
Okay,
he'll have a big game.
let me fact check here. Sam Laporta stats. You ready? He has
Yes.
regular season. This season, he only has 2 touchdowns.
All right,
Sam
so
Laporta
I'll
does.
say that he either matches it or he surpasses it
Oh,
in
that
one
is
game.
a very bold prediction. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it'll be
What's
a nice welcome back game for him.
okay, what's your score prediction?
I'll go with 27-17 Vikings.
Okay, by 10 points you got the Vikings winning. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to go, let's see. I'll give my score prediction and then a bold prediction. Score prediction 27-20 Vikings. Now that's not by the 10 I mentioned, but I think they'll probably keep it close. I think it'll be like a last second touchdown by the Colts, but bold prediction. I think Sam Darnold has more. I don't know if it's a bold prediction, but Sam Darnold will have more passing yards or more all purpose yards. No, passing yards than Joe Flacco. Do you think that would be a bold prediction? Or do you think that's just a regular prediction?
I think that's kind of a regular prediction, just because I think Sam
I
Darnold is
think so.
doing very, very well. But on the flip side, I will say I wouldn't be shocked if Joe Flacco did, only for the fact that we've seen in a lot of these games that the Vikings have won that these quarterbacks are throwing a ton to kind of get back into that game. We saw like with Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy. When they had that 5-win stretch there. So I think it's something that it could happen. So I mean, I'm let's call it lukewarm. I'll say it's a lukewarm take on that.
So
Yeah.
on
But it's
Underdog
one.
here, they have Sam Darnold. The line is at 249.5 for Sam Darnold, and then Joe Flacco 241.5. So pretty close in passing yards. I don't know if Sam Darnold gets 250 though. That's pretty pretty high up there. But if he gets that, he gets that. But it's pretty
Yeah, and
close.
I think a reason for that could be just because they are getting TJ back. It's a game that he probably could have played in 2 weeks ago, so he's super fresh, ready to go. And if my bold prediction is true and that he does get 2 touchdowns and matches it or surpasses it, I think that's one where we're going to start seeing him push the ball downfield. And I don't know how the Colts. I don't know how the Colts are with pass defense with yards and stuff, but we've seen in the past. Like I think I saw something that Justin Jefferson's like a Player of the Month winner. I think he's a 2-time November Player of the Month winner. So he shows up in November. So it's definitely possible if he gets open and gets some yards after catch. So I think it's something that could happen that he could get the over on. But if the Vikings start off fast, maybe not. So, but we'll kind of have to wait and see on how that goes.
Yeah, and like you said, we'll wait and see for tonight's matchup. That's all that we have for you guys tonight. Let me know in the comments below who you guys think will win, the Vikings or the Colts. Score predictions, leave a bold prediction down in the comments as well. And yeah, we will see you guys in the next episode. Skol Vikes.